Now is it on? Yeah. Okay. All right, good morning, you guys. Thank you for being here. I was just telling you in the front row, there's not as many of you as I thought there were in this grade. I have my numbers wrong. We're glad you're here. I sent some information home to the adults in your world about today, but I don't know how many of you know kind of what's happening. You are the founding class of a new foundation started by the Vincent family, who is in attendance today, and they're going to tell you a little bit about that before we get started here. But we have a speaker. Name is Jordan here. She is going to talk to you about some mental health issues and anxiety. We thought you are a good group to target because you are going to have some major life choices that happen in your 4 years of high school. Maplewood, deciding if you're going to go to vocational school, deciding if you're going to go to college, enlisting in the armed services, like all of these things happen over the next 4 years. And it causes stress. It causes stress for people to figure that out. And so, sorry. Mr. Bart's always in demand. It causes stress. And so this is to sort of help you with how do we navigate that and how do we cope with that as we move through the next 4 years. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let, which one of the lucky ones, Mr. Vincent's going to come here and talk to you a little bit. Garfield grads. They had Doc Howell. Anybody in here have Doc Howell right now? There we go. Okay. They're going to kind of explain to you what the foundation is. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. My name's Adam Vincent. This is my brother, Paul Vincent. Our parents are in the back. Give it up for parents. Yeah. Mom and Dad, David and Cindy Vincent. I graduated in 2000. Paul was 2002. We started our foundation in memory of our brother, Dan, who graduated in 97. He struggled with mental health episode in high school. We wanted to start a foundation in his memory. He has since passed, but we wanted to start a foundation in his memory to raise awareness about mental health and anybody struggling with it and to encourage people and educate. And that's part of what today's presentation will be. It can be a hard thing for you individually, whether it's personally or somebody in your family, a friend, classmate. We just want to raise awareness about that, encourage people, educate people on how they can help, they can deal with it themselves or encourage others. So we hope that today you can take something away from this that will help you in your road in high school. Feels like a lot of decisions, but it all works out. Hopefully some of these ideas will help you as you deal with that stress or more serious things in terms of mental health. But we hope you enjoy it and you learn a little something. Paul will tell you a little more about Dan and a little bit about following us on the social medias that you kids do these days. Appreciate it. And thank you, Jordan, for coming and speaking today. And thank you, Garfield, for having us.
Hey, everybody, I'm Paul. I actually graduated in 2000. He was 02. He said it backwards. That's okay. Apology accepted. I'm older. So our brother was stricken with a mental health issue. There wasn't that much education back then in 1995, 6 or so. So we just wanted to provide another resource. This I think ties in with some of the anxiety of being a young person these days. Is you feel like you got to rush into everything. We've been kicking around ideas on what we want to do, some things we want to do in honor of our brother. And I don't know, it took us about 13 years or so, but here we are, finally here. So we're very pleased. Jordan came all the way over from Pittsburgh to present to you guys today. So we appreciate this inaugural class. We're excited to see our foundation grow probably with this class. So without further ado, Jordan, I'll let you take the mic. Appreciate it. Clap for Jordan.
Yeah!
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you to the Vincent family for bringing me in today. I am really happy to be here. Like they said, I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but my brother actually lives in Aurora, Ohio, so I was able to spend some time with them, and I know this area a little bit, so I'm happy to be here. And before we dive into the bigger discussion that I'm here to have today, I like to start off my presentations with icebreakers, and I hate to use the words icebreakers because I feel like every kid in the audience is like, oh God, here she goes. But bear with me, okay? Because we're going to talk about some heavy things today, but I want to start on a very uplifting and positive note. One rule about my presentations is that I force nobody to speak or participate unless they want to. I could talk up here for 2 hours straight without taking a breath. That doesn't bother me. It is better if you participate, but I also understand that it can be a little intimidating. So, no pressure, but here's our first icebreaker. Name 2 beautiful things you've seen today. Another rule about my presentations, if I ask you guys to do something, I'm going to do it first, right? So 2 beautiful things that I've seen today are very easy for me, but I have 2 beautiful little kids that I got to see, and they both were still sleeping when I left, which was really beautiful. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, my son Griffin, and my daughter Ruby, and they are just the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life, if I say so, in a very unbiased way. Does anyone want to share 2 beautiful things that they've seen with me today? I saw someone pointing. Your 2 friends? That makes me really happy. That's a really good thing. Yes. Anybody else? One other person. How about the sunshine? Right? The cold weather is coming. You guys live in Ohio. It's here. Yes? What thing? Oh, that. Okay, your bed, and then I didn't make some sort of loud collapse when we started. Okay, I love it. Anybody else want to share? Yes, in the back. Sleeping in the sun. 2 really wonderful things that we shouldn't take for granted. Okay, the next icebreaker, this is the last one. I want us to name 3 things that we're grateful for. So again, I will start first. I am incredibly grateful for my extended family. We have a big weekend coming up for one of my cousins that we are celebrating. I'm incredibly grateful for my health, even though I don't sound that great right now. Change of weather really does a number on me. And I am really thankful for, or grateful for, you know what, as superficial and, surface level as it sounds, I'm really grateful for really cozy sweatshirts. Okay, I got one recently. I wore it last night to the movies with my kids, and I really loved it, and you all look very cozy today. Can someone tell me 3 things that they're grateful for? Yes? What's orange? Oh, school. Okay. Well, I'm happy you're here. I don't know about orange, but I'm happy that you're here, and rain, wherever you are. Okay, good job. I love to hear it. Okay, we had another person raising their hand right here. You're getting really brave. I love it. Go ahead.
My family, my lifting crew, and my friends.
Your lifting crew, like weight crew? I love that. Okay, wonderful. Yes.
Sleeping Friday night football games and doing out-of-state Buckeyes.
Okay, I love all of that. Actually, my cousin that we're celebrating this weekend is getting inducted into our high school's Hall of Fame at a high school football game. They're very fun. My brother's the head coach of our high school football team, so it's very entrenched in my family. I get it. The excitement's there. The lights, the cheering, the student sections. Do you guys do themes for your student sections? Okay, I love it. Yes?
My friends, family, and Jesus Christ.
I love all 3. Okay, yes, back there. Okay. See, it took 2 icebreakers to get you guys opening up, and I feel very happy about that. Now that we're all talking, I want to start with some misconceptions about mental health. Before I start talking about my journey and the education that I think we all need and coping techniques that are really important, I want to talk about the false information that is out there that can damage this conversation. The first one that I want to start with is that people with mental health conditions are violent. Now, unfortunately, when something as horrific as a mass violent crime is carried out in our country, the first thing that the person is labeled as is having a mental health condition. Now, that's most likely true, right? But we don't get any other information about that because it doesn't fit into a news story. Was this person seeking treatment? Did they have a support system? Were they on medication? What were their coping techniques like? All of these things that are really important to that conversation are left out. So what happens is an entire group of people, an entire generalized group of people that I'm a part of, gets labeled as being violent when really they're the exception, not the rule. Only 3% of people with a mental health condition carry out violent crimes, and people with mental health conditions are actually 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crimes. Now, I live in the same world as you. That is not what is being put out there. And I don't even think it's with malicious intent. I think it's just not understanding the entire conversation. The reason it's important for days like this, for people like me to educate, is that if you are somebody struggling with a mental health condition, this narrative being put out there could make people afraid to speak up. If you're afraid of being labeled violent, or people aren't going to trust you, or they're afraid you have that ability, people could stay silent. They could continue to internalize and suffer deeper and longer. People with mental health conditions are weak, and if they try hard enough, they can snap out of it. When I was your age, before my journey started, this is something that I believed. I come from a family that struggles with different things, and I would see people in my family going through things and think like, just toughen up. Just snap out of it. Just choose not to feel this way. And life had a very different journey ahead for me. This is not something that people can snap out of. Mental health conditions are caused by 3 different things. 1, biological factors, our genes, or physical illness or injury, or brain chemistry. 2, life experiences and trauma. And 3, family history of mental health conditions. Now, I have been dealing with my own issues for a very long time, but I have been running this organization for almost 13 years now, and I can tell you that not only has my experience showed me that there is nothing weak about somebody dealing with these issues, but I have been introduced to some of the most incredible, extraordinary, toughest, and strongest people that are dealing with these things. There's nothing weak about this. People who die by suicide are selfish. Now, this is in my presentation for the past almost 13 years, but also today is World Suicide Prevention Day. This is an incredibly important one because I think there's a lot of negative connotations surrounding suicide that makes people a little uncomfortable to talk about it. But it's really, really important that we do. The first thing we need to address is how we talk about suicide. The phrase used to be that we are trying to override is committed suicide. They committed suicide. That phrase was brought into our language because it used to be viewed as a crime or something that is sinful. Suicide is neither of those things. Talking about it in that way makes people afraid to speak up about it. It makes people ashamed if someone in their life passes this way, when really suicide is the final devastating symptom to a tragic illness. Changing the way we talk about this makes people feel more comfortable speaking up if this is something that they're struggling with. So, these misconceptions are where I like to start because I want to even the playing field, right? All 3 of these things when I was your age. Now, the world's a different place. You are way more educated than I was in this topic whenever I was young. But these were things that I all thought. So before we start talking about what I went through and different resources, I want us to even the playing field to make sure that you all know some of these really important truths about this topic. Now, who am I and why am I here talking to you all about this at 8 o'clock in the morning? My name is Jordan Corcoran, and I'm the founder and CEO of Listen Lucy, the mental health organization that is here today. I am married. I am married to this very handsome man. His name is Connor. We have been together for 20 years. We started dating when we were sophomores in high school. Now, when I speak in the high school arena, I can see people's eyes light up like, oh, they've been together since high school. We're the exception, not the rule. I actually don't think everyone should be marrying their high school sweetheart. It works for us. We're a little bit weird. We've been together for a very long time. Like I mentioned before, we have 2 incredible little kids. My son, Griffin, is 6 years old. He just started kindergarten. And guys, give your moms and dads a break because sending your kids to school is so hard. And I've been way more emotional and embarrassing than I thought I was going to be. He is the light of my life. Every day is the best day of Griffin's life. He's like vibrating with excitement right now between school and soccer and baseball. I have this other incredible little person. Her name is Ruby. When I first started speaking after Ruby was born, I was like, Ruby is the chillest baby. She just sits and smiles and doesn't cry. And now she is almost 4 and things have drastically changed. She is the coolest person. I always say that everything I have worked so hard to be, Ruby just effortlessly is. She has incredible timing with her jokes. She has jokes, which she's only 3. She is spicy, she is fierce, she is confident, and she's very, very, very funny. And I feel so lucky to be their mom. I love the Toast podcast. On my drive from Pittsburgh, I was able to catch up on it. It's a pop culture podcast. I love Beyonce. I love hip hop music. And as I was traveling a couple years ago, I kept saying, I love all hip hop music. And then kids in the audience were naming all these different rappers, and I didn't know any of their names. And I started to realize my age. So Eminem gets to be on my board because he's been with me the longest. 90s, early 2000 hip hop. That's my type of vibe. I love Diet Pepsi, Doritos, and pizza. They're very important to me. Mixing my love of hip-hop and my love of Broadway, Hamilton is really, really important. Also, Bravo, I know you're not supposed to be proud of loving reality TV, and it's supposed to be a guilty pleasure, but I feel no guilt. I love it. I have a very intense job and life, so sometimes watching trashy TV is just it for me. And I also run a PR firm and marketing firm out of Pittsburgh called the Corcoran Collective. That is another part of my life. So why am I telling you all this? Because at the end, I'm going to quiz you about my likes and dislikes. Now, because for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more serious. I'm going to talk about something that's a bigger part of me. But I want you to understand, just because I talk about it the longest doesn't mean it's the most important. I'm going to share a lot about my life, but I want you to understand that it is simply a part of me, just like all of these other things. I'm a whole person, and this diagnosis, this definition, and my experiences, they are not the biggest part of me. They fit into this board right here. So I also live with generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder. I was diagnosed officially when I was 19 years old, and prior to that diagnosis, I struggled deeply when I was in high school. Now, that was many, many years ago, and the conversation around mental health just really wasn't happening. The stigma surrounding this conversation was so big and so massive that when people started suggesting that I start to get help or that this might be something that I'm struggling with, not only was I humiliated, I refused. I refused to accept it. Does anyone know what stigma is? And not Sigma. I learned my lesson last year at another school when I asked someone to define stigma, and they defined sigma, and I didn't know what sigma was at that time. Does anyone know what stigma is? If not, it's no big deal. That's what I'm here for. Anyone want to give it a go? Okay. A mark of disgrace associated with a particular person, circumstance, quality, or particular circumstance, quality, or person, a synonym, shame, disgrace, dishonor. So a negative stereotype associated with a group of people. Now, I want us to be very brave. How many of us, by a show of hands, how many of us have heard a negative word being used to describe somebody with a mental illness or substance use disorder? Everybody. Let's be a little extra brave. How many of us have used a negative word to describe somebody with a mental illness or substance use disorder? Thank you for your honesty. It's really important to be talking about these things because words really matter. So some of the words that I've heard through my journey have been scary, violent, selfish, crazy, unstable, disturbed, unpredictable, psycho, demented, insane, dangerous, and weak. Now, when I was your age, these were the only words being used to describe somebody with a mental health condition. So why would I, at 17 years old, willingly admit to anybody that I was struggling in the way that I was? Why would I tell a soul that I wasn't doing well mentally when I knew that there was a chance that I would be labeled as one of these words for the rest of my life? You wouldn't do it. And that's what stigma does. It causes shame, it causes silence, it makes your problem isolate you so you feel like you're the only one, that everybody else isn't doing just great, and it pushes you down deep into this hole that is so far down that you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's exactly what happened to me. This was taken on a disposable camera. This is me as a freshman in college. And I will get to that. Before I went to college, though, I was sharing with you all that I was really starting to struggle when I was in high school, right? I was struggling with undiagnosed mental health conditions. I had some things going on in my home life and in my house that I didn't really have control over that were really impacting me in a very big and negative way. And then the third thing on top of that that I was dealing with is that I was being bullied. Now, much like the conversation surrounding mental illness, the conversation around bullying and the effects of bullying and the depths of bullying, it really wasn't happening yet. I don't want to age myself too much, but The internet had just started and not everybody had cell phones, right? So this new wave of bullying that has happened, the cyberbullying, it really started to take off my senior year because we all had phones and MySpace. Did you ever hear of MySpace? Did you learn about it in history class? Yeah. But we had these ways to be in connection with each other outside of school. So everything changed on how it happened. And at first, I was being bullied for my relationship, which felt very normal to me and didn't impact me. But at the same time, I'm dealing with these health issues that we didn't know were mental illnesses. So I was getting on different medications for different things that they were trying to figure out how to help me, right? And I was an athlete when I was in high school. I played soccer, basketball, and I ran track. And I was lucky enough to go to school with a lot of cousins. I'm from a very, very large Italian family. There's like 1 million of us, and we all live within a 5-minute radius. So I'm in the cafeteria one day, and my cousin Devin comes up to me and says, I have to tell you something, and you're not going to be happy. And I said, tell me, what's up? And in each of the classrooms in our high school, there were giant posters of all the winter sports schedules. And above the girls' varsity basketball schedule, there was an action shot of me shooting a jump shot from a game from a prior season. And he said, in my class, someone drew a speech bubble around your face and wrote, I make myself throw up. And I froze. I couldn't compute, I couldn't process what was happening. So first, I was on these different medications that were giving me side effects. I was throwing up, but I wasn't making myself throw up. I was just very sick from these medications. So that was the first thing, that was a lie. Second, I didn't really know that anyone was catching on to what I was going through, right? Like, do you ever go through something difficult and you just try to keep your head down and get to the end of the day? And like, just get it to school, get to practice, go home, and like, just stay out of everybody's way. That's how I was living. I didn't realize that people around me were seeing me leave class or coming in late or getting sick. I didn't realize that people around me were noticing. So that shocked me. And third, and most importantly, I didn't realize that you could get made fun of for your health. This changed me. It was such a pivotal moment in my life because I went from being this outgoing, funny, extroverted, over-involved teenager to the opposite of that. I became combative, argumentative. I blew through my high school like a tornado. So, needless to say, I wasn't very happy. I wasn't doing very well. And while I know you all have been talked to about bullying your entire education, and I know that sometimes it can become a buzzword and people glaze over whenever I say it, I think it's important for you all to hear the ramifications of negative words. Because I think when that person, whoever it was, I think when that person wrote that, they were trying to be funny. They weren't thinking about how heavy that was. They didn't realize what I was going through. They didn't realize that they said it when I was 17, but when I was 22 years old at high school, I was going to my therapist trying to plan for winter breaks in case I would run into these people that treated me so terribly. I don't think kids think that far ahead, but I think it's our responsibility to do that. People will forget every single thing, your grade point average, how many varsity letters you obtain, what groups you were a part of. When these walls go away and you're out into the world, they forget that. What they remember is how they made you feel. And what you don't want to be responsible for is someone dreading getting out of the car in the morning or feeling physically sick to come into school because of the way you treat them. The other thing I'll say is if someone is treating you the way that I was treated, please know that that is not on you. You stay kind. Do not let the world change you. Do not let mean people change you. Do not let disrespectful people change you. You sit in your confidence. You find the people that make you feel good, and you let them lift you up. Do not pay mind. I know it is hard. I remember sitting in my counselor's office in high school and them telling me, you just have to make it 5 more months. And I remember thinking at that stage of my life, 5 months? That's forever. I don't know how I'm going to survive it. But I did. Right? And it's really important. So I'm guessing you could understand that I could not wait to get out of my neighborhood. I could not wait to get out of my school. I could not wait to go to college. I went to Mercyhurst College, which is in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I just thought this is going to be the solution to all of my problems. But I hadn't addressed one thing. I hadn't addressed one thing before I left, right? So when I got there, I was on my own for my first time. My support system was gone, and I had a lot more freedom to do a lot more things. So do you think things got better for me? No, unfortunately not. Things went from bad to unbearable. I was having panic attacks every single day before I even knew what panic attacks were. I actually thought they were heart attacks. I was taken to and from the hospital often. I lost a ton of weight. I wasn't eating. My grades were dropping. I was taken off my college campus on a stretcher. I had oxygen masks put on my face, and I learned what true terror really was, and that is not something that I would wish upon anybody. It is by far the most lost, sad, and alone and sick I have ever felt. It was horrible. Now, reliving this stuff is not enjoyable. You know, some of this stuff happened to me 20 years ago, and I've been sharing it for 13 years. It is not enjoyable to relive the trauma that you experience, but it's important because I want you all to understand when we're talking about mental health, this is what we're talking about. Had I gotten help earlier, what could I have stopped myself from going through? But I refused. So while I don't enjoy sharing it, I know it's important, but the more important thing is how did I get it together? Now, I mentioned that I have been with my husband for a very long time, and my husband and I went to college together, and after a particular panic attack, we had to call 911 because I thought I was having a heart attack. Paramedics show up, they give me oxygen, everything works out, I calm down, they leave. Connor, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, said, please go talk to someone. And I said to him, I don't need help. Now, I've been talking for maybe 20 minutes describing my life of chaos. And still, that stigma kept me from accepting that I needed help. How ridiculous. Here I was with a boyfriend that could have been running for the hills because things were hard, telling me that he would support me in this, and I said no. I had family that would drive up the highway at any moment to take care of me. Still, I said no. And most importantly, I was on a college campus where I could get free mental health services. All I had to do was walk into the nurse's office and say that I needed support. And I still said no because I was so afraid of what that meant, of what I was going to label myself. And Connor said to me, at this point, you're choosing to live like this. And that sentence impacted me in such a big way because he was right. I just listed, I had the support, I had the resources, the financial issue wasn't there, and I still was saying no, and there was a solution. I have traveled the country and I've met thousands of people that didn't have the support or the resources or had a diagnosis with something that there isn't a solution for. And here I was smacking the resources in the face because I was too embarrassed. So Connor was right, and I have told him many times that in 20 years, that is the only time he has ever been right. So I went to therapy. Now, recently I started sharing this because I realized I hadn't been at the first half of my career, but I just said I went to therapy, and this is what I learned. But the truth is with therapy is that I went to my first therapist, and she wasn't the right fit for me. I went to my second therapist, and she was not the right fit for me. I went to my third therapist, and she most likely saved my life. I think we tell kids all the time that if you need help, ask for it. If you need help, ask for it. If you need help, ask for it. But we don't explain to them what help looks like and that help is not linear. You don't start here and end here. It goes like this. So if you're with a mental health provider or a mental health professional and it's not the right fit, that doesn't mean they aren't a good therapist. It just means they aren't your therapist. Advocate for yourself. Speak for yourself. Because I did that, it took some time, but because I did that, she unlocked everything for me. She first and foremost gave me my diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder. And for a lot of people, when that day happens, when that diagnosis happens, it can be a very overwhelming and sad day. In all honesty, as resistant as I was, that diagnosis was so liberating to me. Once I sat with someone that didn't know me, that wasn't connected to my family or my community, that just knew mental health, and she told me what was going on with my brain, it all started making sense to me. There was nothing wrong with me. There was something different about me. And there was nothing wrong with my brain. There was something different about my brain. And if I could understand that, I could get a hold of it and get control, and I didn't have to continue to live in this chaos anymore. I have tried every single coping technique that has ever been offered to me. I share a lot of them with you all here. Mine that I do use regularly is that I'm still in therapy. I've been in therapy on and off for 20 years. I exercise regularly when I can. I try to do like 4 times a week. What I realize is it gives me a second to put my phone in my pocket, put music in my ears, and uncharge from the world. So what it does for me physically, fantastic. But what it does for me mentally, to get those anxious feelings literally out of my body, is so important. Nourishing my body. I'm on the move a lot, and I know you all are too, depending on what your schedules are. I find if I eat healthy, I feel good physically. When I feel good physically, I can focus mentally. Breathing techniques. Okay, my breathing technique that I've been doing for a very long time is that I breathe in for 6 seconds. Bless you, whoever sneezed. I breathe in for 6 seconds, I hold it for 8 seconds, and I breathe out for 4 seconds. We're gonna try it right now. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Just so you know, when I do that at middle schools, they breathe out so hard. Like, and then I used to say, don't you feel better? And the kids would yell, no. And this is why. You have to do it on repeat. Now, my therapist suggests that you breathe out longer than you breathe in. 6-8-4 has worked for me since before I even, started understanding mental health from front to back. So what's really important about a breathing technique is you don't have to have a mental health diagnosis to need one of these. We all feel anxious. We all get butterflies in our stomach. You don't necessarily need to have a diagnosis to care about these things. This is how you manage stress in a healthy way. The best thing about breathing techniques is that they're always on you. They're free, and no one ever has to know that you're doing it. 6-8-4 is what has helped me in so many situations. I don't do great in crowds. I don't do great in airplanes. That's one of the things that helps me regulate myself. Crisis planning, grounding techniques, these things are all things that you can look up. But what happens is when I go into panic mode, my body is telling my mind that I'm in danger, right? So you enter fight, flight, or freeze. These grounding techniques, holding ice cubes in your hands, putting your face in cold water if you can, taking a walk, doing the 5 senses, which is naming 5 things you can see, 3 things you can taste, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for your 5 senses. Being able to do that, it gives you the opportunity to let your body and your mind catch up and realize that you are not in danger, and it helps you regulate your system. These are things that I have to do still regularly, but now they're such a part of my everyday life that I don't even realize I'm doing them when I'm doing them. I'm going to share a little bit more about writing in a moment. These are ones that I don't necessarily use regularly, but that I know are very effective for people. Yoga and meditation. I could not be worse at meditating. I am more of like a scream in a pillow, kick something type of girl, but I know that helps a lot of people, and I'm hoping one day that I can evolve and be someone that is like Zen, but so far, no luck. Reiki readings, which are like crystals, help a lot of people. I've done a Reiki reading. It was very cool, very odd, but I liked it a lot, and I know a lot of people that's their way of life. Coloring books, they actually have coloring. Oh, see? Who told me that was going to fall? Yep. They have coloring books that have these intricate designs that actually help you manage your anxiety as you're doing them. I used to do them whenever I was in college all the time. Exhaler.com, I actually do have this one bookmarked on my phone. It is a circle that expands and retracts and tells you to breathe in and breathe out. I've used that on an airplane as well. So that's something to think of. Talkspace and Headspace are apps that you can keep on your phone. Talkspace is a place that you can connect with a therapist. Headspace actually has guided meditations that are free. There are versions of it that you can pay. But Headspace has like 3-minute guided meditations, which I feel like if someone's talking me through the meditation, sometimes I can be a little bit better at it. And then 988 is the suicide and crisis planning hotline. These resources are really important because if you are someone that is waiting to get into therapy or is considering going to therapy, a lot of times there's a wait list, right? There are wait lists in Pittsburgh. I don't know the Ohio area as well, but I'm guessing it's similar. There are wait lists that can be up to 3 to 6 weeks to get into a therapist. Usually it's not less than 2 weeks, because we are in the middle of a mental health crisis. So it's important for me as I speak to schools that I give tangible, free, and accessible coping techniques, because you need to know how to manage stress. I did not know how to manage stress. I did not know how to manage my mental health. So I did it in a very unhealthy way. Had I had these tools, I probably could have saved myself from a lot of trauma. I told you I was going to share about writing. So I know it's very hard to believe because I haven't taken a breath since I started. But when my anxiety gets really, really bad, it's hard for me to put a sentence together. My brain goes a mile a minute and my words get jumbled. So when I was in college and I was living this way all the time, it was so difficult for me to explain to anybody what I was going through. So I would go into the hospital, I would call my mom and say, "You have to get up here, I'm dying." Obviously not that calm. There was a lot more going on. But she would get up there, and then she would look at me, and there was nothing going on. Or I would say to Connor, 911, I had to call 911, "Can you please get over here?" And when they left, Connor never experienced a panic attack before, so he would stare at me, and there was nothing that I could show them. It wasn't a broken leg. It wasn't a bruise. I wasn't having a heart attack. There was nothing physical that we could show anybody. And what it did was it left me feeling crazy. I looked normal. I looked like I wasn't suffering on the outside. I know for sure if any of you saw me out on the street, you wouldn't say, "I bet she's struggling with her mental health." And it left me feeling alone and isolated. It made me feel like I was living in this aquarium and everybody was just watching me and waiting for something to happen. But what I found was with writing is that if I took my time when my head was on straight, whether I went to my library or the coffee shop or just was in my dorm room, and I would write without judgment, I could get all those jumbled thoughts out, right? I could make sense, and I would write about what was happening to me, what I was scared of, what this meant for me, what was working for me, and I would write, and I would write, and I would write. And what I learned is that I slowly was healing and learning how to describe and speak about my mental health like I do now. When I was a senior in high school, or a senior in college, I was the opinion editor for my school paper. I wrote an article about what I had been going through. Put the article out in the paper, and then the day it came out, I was devastated, which makes no sense because it was my decision. But I was like, why would I tell thousands of people that I'm struggling this way? Maybe they had no idea. Maybe they hadn't seen me getting in the ambulance on our college campus. Why would I alert everybody? But I wanted people to know that I currently had a struggle that I was going through that was defining me. But I was trying to figure out how to define myself. And I think whether you take something from hearing me speak today or not, I know I'm not for everybody. That's just the way it is. Something we can all relate to is that we've all struggled. We've all struggled so much that it starts to become all we think about it. We wake up, we think about it. We come to school, we think about it. We go to practice, we think about it. We hang out with our friends. Even when we're having fun, it's always in the back of our mind. And that's what happened to me. I was looking in the mirror, and I didn't see all those things from that first slide that I showed you all, right? All of the wonderful things about me. All I saw was what I thought was a crazy person looking back at me. So I put this article out, trying to connect with people and share my story and see if I could help somebody. And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. People telling me I was brave, I had courage, that they had no idea that I was going through this, that they were going through something similar. Thank you was the message. And I was shocked. It was mind-blowing to me. And I remember feeling a physical weight being lifted from my body. Because now, at 38, I realize that I was actually battling two things. One, these all-consuming mental illnesses that were taking over my life mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, which I've talked to you about ad nauseum. The other thing was the fear of people finding out. And that was consuming me just as much. And when I said it out loud, people were supportive. Now, I'm sure people judge me. I'm sure people still judge me. Those aren't my people. But the people that reached out to me, that said, hey, I'm struggling too, or you're so brave, it freed up so much. That acceptance that I didn't know I needed freed up so much of me that I actually began to not just heal, but to thrive. And I wanted to create an organization that I could provide that for other people. So I created Listen Lucy. Listen Lucy is my mental health organization that I have been running for 13 years. I travel the country and speak to elementary age school kids up to adults in the workplace. I have 4 different books. I've been featured on some of the biggest media outlets in the country for my mental health advocacy, and I've done everything in my skill set and power that I can think of to make the world a kinder place. 2 years ago, I launched my free mental health conference for middle school students in Pittsburgh, where everyone that can attend, up to 200 kids, can come at no expense to eliminate financial barriers. I share my accomplishments with you, one, because I'm very proud of them. I've worked very, very hard to get there. But more importantly, I want you to understand that if you are connecting to my story, if you're feeling how I feel or how I felt when I was your age, I want you to know that not only can you endure and get through it, but you can thrive. It is there for you. All you have to do is get through it. You don't have to make a career of speaking about it. But enduring and getting through it, there is another side to it. It will pass when you work for it. What I have done is not extraordinary, and what I've dealt with is actually incredibly common. These facts are from NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. 1 in 4 people have a diagnosable mental illness. Now, I'm not going to do this, but let's pretend I went through this room and said, 1, 2, 3, 4, stand up, 1, 2, 3, 4, stand up, and I went through this whole room and had every 4th person stand up. Think how many people would be standing in just this room of a class of 80-ish, right? That's how many people are dealing with something similar to what I have gone through right now. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death in young people between the ages of 10 and 14. The 2nd leading cause. Last year, I was speaking at a school in Ohio. I mentioned that my family lives here. And my niece, Hazel, who is now 11, she was 10 last year, I invited her. She's taken an interest in Listen Lucy. I invited her to come to my assembly to hear me. And as we were talking, there was 1,000 kids in the room and high schoolers. And she was 9, 10 at the time. And as I was speaking, I was like, is this too heavy for her to hear my story? She's the first person of our next generation that's hearing what I went through. And I looked over at her and I started getting emotional, which I never get when I speak. And I thought, I hope this isn't scaring her. And then later on in the presentation, I got to this slide. And she falls in that age group. And it's important for us to be addressing this and addressing it in an open way so that kids know that this is the 2nd leading cause, that they know it's okay to be struggling, and that they know what resources are out there to help them. It is no longer if you are struggling, it is when you are struggling. It is important for us to realize how to deal with life. In 2021, only 47% of people living with mental illness got help. Now, the pandemic, I know nobody wants to talk about the pandemic, but it's really important to understand the fallout from it. Kids ages 12 to 17, 1 in 6 experience a major depressive episode. 3 million had serious thoughts of suicide. 31% increased in mental health-related emergency department visits. Among U.S. adults 18 to 25, 1 in 3 experienced a mental illness. 1 in 10 experienced a serious mental illness, and 3.8 million had serious thoughts of suicide. I had a school in Pittsburgh that the police department actually brought me in to their school district because 86% of the calls to their office were mental health related. This conversation isn't going anywhere. And my fear is, as the awareness portion grows, as we are becoming more comfortable talking about it, and you all are being spoken about it so much, is that we're starting to gloss over, right? We need to be able to hear this and understand that this applies to you. You need to understand that mental health is a part of our lives. You do not need to have a mental health diagnosis to care about mental health conditions. You do not need to have a physical disability to take care of your physical health. You do not need to have a mental health diagnosis to care about your mental health. Because while I said 1 in 4 have a diagnosable mental illness, 100%, every single person in this room has mental health. Learning how to deal, how to focus, how to adjust and cope, what resources are at your fingertips is really, really important. As I've traveled, one of the most common things that kids stay after and talk with me about is that they are struggling and the adults in their lives don't believe them. What can we do? And that is heartbreaking. That is why I try to provide the coping techniques that I can. That is why I work with the schools to figure out how I can support you all. Okay. That's the heavy portion of this. Now, but to wrap this up, I want to do an activity that I'm going to need 3 volunteers to come up here for. Do we think we have 3 people that will do it? You're just going to share it. Okay. Look at the. Okay, all 3 of you? 1 person. Do we have other? Okay, yes, sir, in the back, and yes, right here in the white shirt. Come on up. Red sweatshirt. Okay. Oh, either one. There's another one, so we'll see. Okay. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Thank you, you 3, for. You're okay. You're all right. Here's what I'm going to tell you from this perspective. Coming up in front of your class and sharing in front of them and on a microphone is not the easiest thing to do. So we are going to be incredibly supportive of our peers and our classmates. Right? Let's give them a round of applause right now. That's right. Good job. Just for 1 second. Okay, so I want you guys to talk amongst yourselves, and if we want to give 3 different answers, or if the 3 of you want to come up with an answer together, let's do it. What do you think is the number 1 thing that it negatively impacts our mental health? 2, what is your message to anyone that could be going through a hard time right now? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to discuss, and then we'll figure out your answers, okay? We're going to give them 1 more minute. How we doing? We ready? Okay. Come over here, you 3. Let's give everyone, let's give them our attention. First, can you 3 share your names?
Emma.
Juice Box Joey.
Juice Box Joey, okay.
Ryan.
Ryan, do you want to come over on this side? I'm just afraid this isn't, I don't want this to knock it over. Okay, and who's going to be sharing? Okay, so what is the number 1 thing that you think negatively impacts our mental health?
Not having anybody to talk to and just feeling like you're alone and that there's nobody out there for you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Would you guys agree with your classmates on this one? Yes. You would agree. That's so good. I'm so glad that you would agree. I think it's important for you to hear and connect with each other on this because I think that, 1, your school, which I don't know how the school says, is it 9 to 12 in the high school? So this is a new school. This is a new building for you all. 1, your administration brought me here. So I know there are resources and that they're open to having these conversations. So my recommendation, the first thing to do is to know that these issues, if you are struggling, it's not for you to take on by yourself. It is to find an adult in your life that you can trust, right? Find who is there and in your corner. And that could be a counselor, that could be a coach, that could be a boss, that could be a mom, an aunt. An adult will help you. Okay. What is there anything else you want to share about negatively impacting our mental health?
The environment plays a big role, like the environment in which you live in. Like, if you like not all lives are like perfect. We all have our own struggles with family, work, school, finances, and it can be very challenging. Yeah, that can be a very majorly impactful.
Wonderful. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay, second question I asked you all is, what is your message to anyone going through a hard time right now?
It's okay to not be okay, and it is absolutely okay to ask for help and to reach out to your peers and stuff, and just for them to remind you that you are loved, and yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, let's give a huge round of applause for your classmates. You nailed it. Respect, Joey. Brian. High five. Thank you. That was so great. Okay, I have one more. Now, this is one that I brought to Camp Lucy. As I mentioned to you all, I run a free mental health conference for middle school students, and we ask the students, we go around with the microphone, and we ask them, what is your superpower? And I started doing this a long time ago with Listen Lucy, and I noticed when I ask people what their favorite thing is about themselves or what their superpower is, everybody freezes up because we're not comfortable saying the things that we like about ourselves. So I'm going to ask you to do this. Can I get 3 volunteers to come up? One. Okay, 2 right here. You ready? Okay, come on. Okay, now, like I just shared, this is not easy to do. So we are going to celebrate our classmates and what they like about themselves. You can have a second. It's a little bit weird to do, right? I would say that I think my superpower is my empathy. I think that going through everything that I went through has provided me an opportunity to really meet people where they are and hear them and sit with them and validate how they're feeling. Okay, do you want to share? All right, come over here, ladies. Wonderful. And you're going to share your name and your superpower. And while I usually hold applause, after each superpower, we clap, okay?
My name is Lucy, and I feel like it's probably my personality.
Love, okay. Wonderful. Lucy. Okay, come on over.
My name is Kylie, and being able to relate what people go through.
Wonderful.
My name's Paisley, and I think like my superpower is my testimony, because some of you guys know what I've been through, but for me to just share my testimony about how I like got into my faith and just how I got stronger and I stood on top of my anxiety and I crushed it.
Thank you, ladies. Isn't it fun to celebrate who we are? It's just like really, really nice. Confidence is a very cool thing. Now, I'm so sorry. Emma shared with us for her message to people that are struggling right now that it is absolutely okay to ask for help. I want to end with this note of asking for help does not mean you have failed. Asking for help does not mean you are weak or that you did something wrong. Asking for help shows a strength that not everybody has. If you connected to my story in some way today, if you are struggling in any way, please, please know that you deserve to be happy and healthy simply because you exist. I do not care who you are, how you identify, what you believe in, what walk of life you come from. You deserve to be happy and healthy and safe because you are here. If you are struggling, know that that is temporary. You will get through it. You don't deserve it. And the hand that you've been dealt can be overcome. Going through things builds our character. It doesn't mean it's easy, but please know that you are worth that help. You are worth the work it takes to get through it. And please, 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 please tell somebody. Now, this is my social media. Please feel free to follow it. This is what I'm going to tell you. Normally, I travel with my social media director, who obviously is not here with me today because she'd be wearing an invisibility cloak or something. She told me that I need to get something to post, and I don't do this anymore, which is really weird. Here's what I'm thinking. Could we do a video, if everyone's comfortable with it, of the slogan for Listen Lucy is keep going. We have hats and shirts that say keep going. And on my way here, I was thinking what a great video if we could get you guys to smash in and yell keep going for World Suicide Prevention Day. Or is there something else we want to yell that's appropriate? I knew someone was going to say 6'7", and I don't really understand 6'7". I don't really get it, but excuse me. My nephew's always saying that to us. Now, do we agree on keep going? Do we want to say you are loved? Do you want to say, what do we think? Keep going? Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask if the teachers in the room are okay with it. Can we smash in here, like girls, everyone, can we smash in close to each other? So it says, and adults, if you want to get in too, I would love that. So I can get everybody. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. On the count of 3, we're going to yell, keep going. But then after, it's a little awkward if we just say, like, keep going and then awkwardly smile. So we're going to yell, keep going, and then cheer really loud. Should we practice, or do we think we can get it on the first shot? First one try. Okay. 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 Okay, you all are pros. Why don't we just sit right there wherever you are right now? Just sit still for 1 second. And to wrap up, here's what I'm going to say. First, if you have questions for me right now, let's do it. If not, I'm going to stick around for a couple of moments and talk with anybody that wants to speak with me one-on-one. Are there any questions for me out loud? Yeah. It's a very good question. So obviously my name is Jordan. My name is not Lucy, but Lucy is a nickname that my mom gave me whenever I was little. She calls me Luce, Lucille, Lucinda, Lucy, way more than she calls me Jordan. And when I started this organization, it was an anonymous online outlet where people could write their stories, like sort of like Dear Abby. But I'm a writer, so the alliteration of Listen Lucy sounded better. My mom is thrilled that she gets to take credit for the name. But the internet and the way we use it has changed, so I had to shift away from that, but the name kind of stuck. So that's it. Any other questions for me? I nailed it, didn't I? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, guys, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your time, your attention, your morning. Thank you for your acceptance and support of each other and for listening to my message so attentively. You are fantastic, and I hope you have a very wonderful school year. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, thank you for your participation. You were a great audience. Good job, freshman class. Before we leave, Mr. Lysak has some stuff, since we think we're the best school in Portage County, not Aurora. I heard that. Okay, right? Do we agree with that? Best school in Portage County? Yes? We brought you a little jag swag. Does anybody know what our focus on the core values is this year? Like, what's the one thing we're all focusing on? Does anybody know? Go, give it, yell it. Kindness, okay? So that's our main focus on our core values for this year. So we brought you some of our kindness swag. The shirt is probably too large, but if you like to work out, it's a great workout shirt. Okay, so anybody that has any questions, feel free to stick around. Don't forget, you do have resources. They're all sitting there very nicely in the back, waving at you if you don't know who they are, if you haven't seen them. All right? So there are people here. We want you to have a great high school career. That matters to us. So we are in what period? We are in second period. So we will dismiss you to go back. Let's give another round of applause to Jordan. And again, anybody that wants to ask any questions, feel free to stay. Everybody else, have a great, what is today, Wednesday? Wednesday.